Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Blather Crossing. Today we are making a holiday home for our favorite feathered friend. Can you guess who? He is a brown owl, wears a green bow tie, has a sister obsessed with stars, and he runs a museum. If you haven't guessed already, please welcome Blathers. For his holiday home, I want to create a sort of museum outpost, where residents of the holiday archipelago can bring specimens they find to him, or see the history of the islands. Of course, he will need a place to live while studying away, so I will make a little studio apartment upstairs for him. I also want his sister Celeste to be able to visit him comfortably too, so we'll try to make the apartment suitable for a visitor. Let's get into it and call his amiibo. After calling Blather's amiibo, Lottie explained the process of designing a holiday home to him. Then, it was time to choose a plot for the house. I chose B2 since it has really beautiful ruins and lots of water. I like the way it glistens and how the plot isn't a perfect square with no background. It's time to take him to his new holiday home. It's so pretty here. The first thing I did before starting the design process was to look around the garden area and get a sense of the space and how I would decorate it. Knowing I wanted a museum-like feeling, I chose the largest house available with a black roof to feel posh, elegant, and grand. In retrospect, I wish I chose the cyan roof to match his museum on the main island. I also chose a dark green door to match his bow tie. Being an owl, I thought the midday sunshine might be a little too bright for him, so I set the hour to early evening, about 5 o'clock. That looks much nicer. Now for the garden design. I knew I didn't like the paving here for my design ideas, so tore it up and replaced it with a brick path to the front door. I also added some dirt on the left side to make a flower bed. I added some iron and stone fencing across the front of the property, as this looked the most fancy and in style with my design idea. Then I filled the flower bed with black and red tulips. I added some ruined pillars to match the surrounding land and then a pergola to match the flower bed. Originally I wanted to add fossils to the garden, but these didn't look right, so I deleted them later on. Getting the pillar placement right was tricky. I wanted them to frame the museum without looking cluttered. I thought Blathers would be interested in the local flora of the archipelago, so added in plants and a small greenhouse for him to grow his cuttings and samples in. The Buck's topiary makes the whole garden look really formal and neat. I also added a little fountain for a sense of grandness on a smaller remote scale. While this is technically a holiday home merged with a museum, I knew Blathers would want to work and study, so I added him in a dark wooden table with a green lantern to match his bow tie and door. I put a book and some seedlings on the table too. This way, he has an outdoor workspace to study the local flora. I spread some bronze streetlights around the property for him to work in the evenings or for guests visiting late in the day. And that's the garden finished. Let's take a look at Blathers tending to the plants. Inside, I made the room as large as I could and set the entryway to dark wood. After much time choosing, I set the wallpaper to beige floral with wooden support beams and a matching hardwood floor. I wanted to create a functional office space, so added a partition wall and a dark wood pillar with the matching counters. I put these in the rear left corner. I really think Blathers would like the antique and elegant furniture sets and chose these items in a custom design brown to match his feathers but create a neutral color palette that was easy to furnish. A little detail I added to the photocopier was a picture of some footprints in the dirt. I like to think these are fossilized dinosaur tracks. I wanted to make some areas of the room more cozy, so added a fireplace over by the elegant sofa. I thought the glowing moss jars on a shelf looked great in the office as specimens Blathers has collected across the archipelago. The current size of the office was too small, so I moved the wall to enlarge it and add more furniture. I decided to add some exhibits to the museum area, paintings and statues, plus display cases to store smaller items in. To make the sitting area feel more cozy and personal, I added photos of Blathers' friends and family on the wall above the fireplace. Despite him hating bugs, I added a chart on the wall. Hopefully guests can identify their findings themselves from it, so Blathers doesn't need to look at them. I also added a bulletin board with the same dinosaur footprints and his frame to greet the wall of the office. It's the little touches that pull a room together. Using rope partitions, I enclosed the statues at the side of the room and used simple green rugs to accentuate the area. I also used these as a carpet in the office. I changed the large display cabinets to dark wood to match the theme and filled one with a large shell speaker and a fossilized ammonite. Sort of modern versus ancient specimens. I wanted to add a coelacanth model by the window since they have an amazing history. To finish the display cabinet, I added an gyroid fragment with the Egyptian statue to look like a broken artifact. I like to think it was found at Anka's house in the desert. I moved the display cabinets to be a wall of the office so I could include a triceratops skull. I think Blathers would secretly hide all his junk and mess behind them. I didn't like where the thinking man statue was positioned, so extended the art exhibit slightly to fit it in there. I wanted to include some sea creatures but quickly realized a horseshoe crab on the floor was rather odd. I moved the art exhibit around again and switched a piece for a glowing moss statue as it looked less polished and refined. I decided to replace the coelacanth model with an actual fish too. To finish the office, I added in a messy desk and a stack of old books. I like to think Blathers isn't very good with technology and has an extensive library instead. I can just imagine him calling Tom Nook to de-jam the photocopier. I added a green desk chair to match his bow tie. Getting the final placement of furniture right was difficult, particularly the office. As a final touch in that space, I added a coffee bar with beans and the grinder. I would imagine he drinks a lot to work so many hours at the museum. I added a yellow Persian rug to really finish the space and make it feel inviting. One of my villagers gave me a fossil door plate, so I couldn't help but use them to decorate the walls. I added an antique phone for him to make official business calls and contact his sister, Celeste, or friends like Tom Nook and Brewster. That's the downstairs done. Let's take a look around. Upstairs, I wanted to keep the apartment quite small but functional, so I didn't change the room size. Although, I did choose some questionable wallpaper. I added in a partition wall and wooden pillar with the intention of having all the plumbing on the left side, but later changed this around. Keeping in with the brown theme, I chose a brown kitchen unit with a built-in oven and sink. This is the most space-saving and efficient option for a tiny apartment. To add a second partition which was functional and less enclosing, I used a bookcase to make privacy on a bathroom. Getting the spacing right was difficult while maintaining privacy from the layout. I'm really trying to get better at feng shui and design houses with it. This is when I realized I needed the pillar to make the room wide enough. I just couldn't get the layout right to fit everything in and ensure privacy for the user. To customize, I found the perfect colors for the sink, brown and green, and then continued this across the rest of the fittings. In reflection, I forgot to add a towel rack to the bathroom, but it would have been brown above the sink. I finally did something about the awful wallpaper and changed it to this more neutral wooden lattice. Alongside that, I used a creamy yellow wooden wall which was still questionable at best, but looked marginally better than the yellow checkered design. For the bedroom, I added a simple wooden bed with brown sheets, keeping in with the neutral color palette. Reflecting with feng shui, this was terrible placement for the bed as all the energy from the door is directed at it, so I switched it with the kitchenette. And here begins my typical struggle with kitchen design. I really need to practice it. I knew I wouldn't really have room for a dining table, so I used 2 wooden countertops to separate the kitchen from the rest of the space while creating an eating area on the edge. To add a pop of color, I used green simple stools and added 2, in case Blathers has guests. I always like to add a cooked meal to the kitchen for character, and today I chose a stuffed pumpkin, partially because it was green but also looked delicious. Adding little details tells a story. In this case, it was a frying pan of the vegetables used to make the pumpkin meal on the hob. I also added a brown fridge with green stickers to match Blather's colors. I moved the bed back against the wall and closed off the bedroom with a simple panel by the headboard. I think this works with feng shui. I like to use rugs to separate out spaces in a building to highlight the function of each area. I chose this green and brown design for the kitchen and bamboo for the bedroom. I want to have a slight oriental hint in the decorations. Attempt 3 at the kitchen saw me rotate it onto the rear wall and rearranged the bathroom accordingly. I chose a brown couch for the living area, which could also double as a sofa bed when his sister, Celeste, comes to visit. I rotated the table again to seal off the kitchen and changed the green poofs to wooden stools as they seemed too bright comparatively. Final touches included some radiators for warmth and a phone to call his sister with above the couch. I used some dark wooden light shades as these seemed the most modern contemporary, which suited the apartment perfectly. My final detail was a picture of his sister above the bed to make the space feel less empty. And with that, the upstairs apartment is finished. Let's take a look around. I know there isn't much storage in the apartment, but I think Blathers would have some boxes under the bed or just keep things in his office downstairs. Thank you for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more home designs, subscribe, like and comment who you'd like me to design for next. See you soon!